Sheldon Keefe, notably no longer a Leaf, is the new head coach of the New Jersey Devils. I'm Steve Dangle here. Let's talk about it. And Devils fans, I put on a red jersey, okay? I didn't feel like turning the camera. But I think it's okay that I have the Leaf stuff in the background because I'm going to be talking about Sheldon Keefe's only NHL job, which is with the Toronto Maple Leafs as head coach. Like it or not, that is relevant because that is your guy now. First and foremost, this was broken by, you guessed it, Rear Admiral. He tweeted today, here's a little nugget for you. Sheldon Keefe will be the next head coach of the New Jersey Devils. That's not how you spell Elliot Friedman. The first reply I saw said kinda obvious no, and he just goes, just saying it's happening. Take it from me, there's some risk in saying it's happening for sure. Even if it's been rumored for a while and other people have heard the rumor, you're the one who said it. And then it was confirmed by Frank Saravalli, and Elliot Friedman retweeted him, and CJ was on it, and who else was on it? Darren Dreger. Dreger with another interesting little tidbit here, and this does affect the Leafs. Sounds like a 4-year deal for Sheldon Keefe. Total including the 2 years owed by the Leafs. So there you go, now the Leafs don't have to pay Sheldon Keefe anymore. That's a big deal if you care about multi-billion-dollar companies saving money. If you don't, then 4 years sounds like a lot, but it seems to be the standard going on this summer because now Keefe has gotten 4 years from the Devils. I'm pretty sure Travis Green, who left the Devils, got 4 years from the Ottawa Senators, and Craig Berube, I believe, got 4 years with the Leafs as well. Want a new head coach? 4 years. Now, Devils fans who listen to the podcast know that, we're pretty confident in your Stanley Cup chances now. And the reason for that is obviously not the track record that Sheldon Keefe had with the Toronto Maple Leafs, but the fact that most NHL head coaches tend to win the Stanley Cup with their second team. Learn a bunch of things with one organization, and then you go to the next and, oh, I get it now, and you win the cup. What I talked about in my video recently about Craig Berube being named the new head coach of the Leafs, Brad Treliving talked about the fact that Berube had gone all the way up, touched every rung of the ladder on his way up to where he is now. He was an associate coach, an assistant coach, and a head coach, and an interim head coach, and he did the same thing in the minor leagues. Sheldon Keefe hasn't really done that. He was the owner of the Pembroke Lumber Kings, which I think is like Junior A or something. I think he was an assistant coach for a cup of coffee, and then he was a head coach all the way up. Got hired to the Sioux Greyhounds, head coach. Hired to the Toronto Marlies, head coach. Calder Cup as well. And then was never an assistant coach with the Leafs, head coach all the way. Absolutely fascinated to see who Sheldon Keefe's assistants are going to be because, I mean, usually when a head coach goes, at least one of their assistants from their previous team comes with them. The Leafs bench is obviously in flux right now with all the new hirings and potentially bringing someone in and potentially someone goes out. The Devils bench is in flux too, so this is going to be fascinating for both sides. Basically, what I was talking about with Sheldon Keefe and how he was just a head coach the whole way up, he now brings experience from one organization to another. He didn't have that before. Now, are the Toronto Maple Leafs exactly the sort of team that you should be taking tips on winning from? Well, it depends who you ask. Not in the playoffs, no, but in the regular season, yeah. So you obviously have the brain trust in New Jersey, and now, like it or not, they're going to be gaining some knowledge from the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, what Sheldon Keefe said, even in his departure video, is we didn't get it done in the playoffs. The Toronto Maple Leafs did not get it done in the playoffs. They were bloody fantastic in the regular season, and I think this matches the New Jersey Devils perfectly. Let me tell you how good Sheldon Keefe was in the regular season with the Leafs. Here's what I did for the numbers. Keefe's first season with the Leafs was the 2019-2020 season. He was brought in about 20 games in after Mike Babcock got fired. That team was not very good. Sheldon Keefe did not get a training camp, and then the world stopped. The following year, another shortened season, once again, an incomplete training camp because the world stopped, and that team was extremely good and mowed down the Canadian division that only existed for 1 year. So, excluding those two really weird seasons, let's just go with the three most recent ones. That's the 2021-22 season, the 2022-23 season, and this past season, which is 2023-24. In terms of points in the standings, the Leafs had 328. That ranks 5th in the NHL. In terms of wins, the Toronto Maple Leafs had 150 of them, which ranked 6th in the NHL. Want to hear something really funny? 6th in the NHL, 3rd in the division. Oh, I'm just in constant pain. Regulation wins, 120, and that number is tied for 6th. Goals for, you'll like this one, 888. That is 3.61 goals for per game, which ranks third in the entire NHL. The second ranked team was 3.62. So right there. Elite. Clearly elite. Goals against? Kind of mid. 13th with 733 goals against, which is 2.98 goals against per game. Still top half, but middle of the pack. Power play percentage. Leaf fans, this is going to kill you because the Leafs do not score power play goals in the playoffs. They don't score any goals in the playoffs, especially now because they're eliminated. Over the last three seasons, cumulatively, the Leafs have a 25.7% power play percentage, which is third in the league. No, the head coach does not necessarily run the power play, but he does run the staff that runs the power play. So yeah, this makes its way back to Sheldon. Penalty kill, not as good, still all right though, 80.3%, which is 11th. And then in terms of shots for and against, the Leafs were really good under Sheldon Keefe, or pretty good anyway. 33.1 shots for per game, which is tied for 7th in the NHL over that 3-season span. Shots against per game, an even 30, which is 9th. So, I mean, your top 10 in shots for and shots against, that's good. That's better than good. A lot of teams would kill for that. Here's why I think Sheldon Keefe is actually a masterful match for the New Jersey Devils. There's the funny reason that he's a good match for the New Jersey Devils. He is inheriting a team that is eerily similar to the one that he inherited in Toronto when Babcock got fired. Young team with young superstars who have wild potential, who really struggles to keep the puck out of their net, has a reputation for being a soft team to play against, and they are. Yeah, they just went out and got McDermott, and that does help, basically having like a dude whose sole job is to fight Matt Rempe. But like, you still need some toughness and snarl throughout their lineup, and the Devils do lack it compared to other teams. Go watch the playoffs right now and tell me the Devils can keep up with any of those guys in that department. It's a young team with lots of potential that is struggling to meet that potential. Now, Sheldon Keefe has struggled mightily to win a round in the Stanley Cup playoffs. He won one round in 5 tries, 2020, 2021, 2, 3, he got one in 3 and in 4. But he won a championship with the Calder Cup win with the Toronto Marlies in 2018. Steve, who cares? That's the Calder Cup. Well, let's think about that for a second, all right? Because Devils fans might not know that much about that team, but I do. One of the criticisms, or one of the ways that people diminished that Calder Cup win when Sheldon Keefe was the head coach of the Toronto Marlies was how much money was spent on that team. Because there were a lot of guys who otherwise wouldn't be in the AHL. There were a lot of guys who were either former NHL players or demoted NHL players because the Leaf season ended, or they would be future NHL players. Travis Dermott was on that team, and you could talk about Travis Dermott. He was great at the time. Martin Marincin didn't have a great NHL career, but he had a NHL career, and he did not struggle to keep up at the pace in the AHL at all. It's a completely different pace. Justin Hall was also a part of that team. Andreas Johnsson, former Devil, ended up winning playoff MVP. He was obviously a forward. But that team had a lot of NHL talent on it, especially on the D-core. You could argue that compared to the rest of the league, that's the best D-core he got to coach. You see what I'm saying? The Toronto Maple Leafs D-core does not stack up well against other D-cores in the NHL. They can stay afloat in a lot of situations, but like Morgan Rielly's their best guy, and then beyond him, they don't have anyone else currently who makes over $2 million. Whereas the D-core of the 2018 Toronto Marlies stacked up really favorably compared to the rest of the American Hockey League that season. And they won a championship. While the New Jersey Devils have struggled to keep the puck out of their net, and especially this season, a lot of that came down to goaltending, and that still, is a bit of a question mark. We'll see how many games Jake Allen is able to play. Dude, this D-core though, Dougie Hamilton would be the best right-handed defenseman Sheldon Keefe has coached ever in his entire life. In his entire life, definitely in his NHL career. The Leafs have not, in Sheldon Keefe's tenure and well before it, ever had a right-handed defenseman as good as Dougie Hamilton, who missed most of the season with the New Jersey Devils because of injury. Add to that, John Marino. John Marino would probably, like, is John Marino better than Timothy Liljegren? Is he better than Ilya Lyubushkin? Is he better than... Go through the list of right-handed D the Leafs have had in recent years, and under Sheldon Keefe, he might be first. And then there's Simon Nemec, who's a second overall pick. And also, you guessed it, right-handed D. I think Keefe is going to love Jonas Siegenthaler. Luke Hughes is obviously really attractive in terms of his skill set and how he's going to be in the future. It might not happen right away, but this D-core of the New Jersey Devils has the potential to be, certainly by the end of his 4 years, the best NHL D-core Sheldon Keefe has ever had. Keefe is going to get this team feeling good about themselves, and they're going to score a bajillion goals. Brott and Jack Hughes and Hischier and like what Travis Green was able to do with Timo Meier at the end of the season, I think the Devils are going to score 1 billion goals like they were supposed to at the beginning of last season. I think Sheldon Keefe is going to immediately fall in love with Nico Hischier and use him in all situations. And another guy who I'm positive Sheldon Keefe cannot wait to coach, Andre Palat, dude. Andre Palat. If you're worried about Sheldon Keefe's lack of playoff success, boom, Andre Palat, who has had more success in the playoffs than almost anyone in his generation of hockey player. And if you don't believe me, look it up. Look at his hand. It's covered in rings. Listen, Sheldon Keefe's time with the Toronto Maple Leafs was over. He doesn't have to be a bad coach. You don't have to hate him as a coach or think he was a bad coach to think that it was time to move on. I think it was time to move on, and I don't have any qualms about that. They failed over and over and over again. Yes, there were other things with the team that needed to be changed. This was one of them, though. For the New Jersey Devils, however, bringing in a new guy, dude, this is going to be such a good fit. And the Leafs were so hot in the first 15-20 games with Sheldon Keefe in the 2019-20 season when he took over. He didn't even have a training camp, but he got guys out of slumps right away. Tyson Barrie didn't have a goal in 20 games. Then he had goals in like 4 straight. Dude, with a full training camp with this team, assuming the most important parts of it stay healthy, Dougie Hamilton playing will be huge for that. I think the New Jersey Devils and Sheldon Keefe will be a match made in heaven. I really do. It's the National Hockey League. Yeah, you want to find the best coach. I don't think there's a huge gap between a lot of these coaches. I think they're all really good coaches. It's about finding the right fit. Keefe's a great fit for the Devils. But what do you think? Leafs fans, Devils fans? Let me know in the comment box down below. For now, that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell all your friends Sheldon Keefe is a devil.